Hey everybody, it is your girl. Yes, it's Lady Alicia Abdullah. How are you? I hope you're having the best day ever. You guys, of course, we're still talking about purpose, and I have a special guest today. She's practically a sister. Like, y'all know me. I have a bunch of sisters in the faith, but she holds a special place in my heart because I'm trying to be like her when I grow up, okay? Like I have Dr. Victoria Brown on the line. Yes, she is the CEO, founder, and director of the Beauty Academy. And I mean, and her, look, y'all know how I like to do. I don't like to tell their story. I let them tell their story. Victoria, say hello to the people and tell them who you are.
Hello, 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 everyone. It's your girl, Dr. Victoria Brown,
Yeah.
representing the illustrious, that's what my sister like to say, Beauty Academy, located in Byron, Georgia. We are a local-owned school of cosmetology with 4 programs: a nail
Oh,
technician, master cosmetology, aesthetics, and a cosmetology instructor program. So, yes, that's what we do, local in the Middle Georgia area.
come on, cause we need it. We need it.
We need it.
And
Yes.
yes, it's black owned. Yes, y'all can say it's black owned, but we are
Yes, it is.
woman owned. We are here making history in the Middle Georgia area. I love it.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I love it. So, of course, I want to talk about your school. Now, for ones who may not know her, she started off as a stylist, but she has always had a knack for mentoring and teaching others. Like, and she has her own hair care line. Like, she got her toes in everything, y'all. Y'all just need to understand that she stay busy, busy.
Everything.
But I love that about you. Some people are satisfied just doing the one thing, and it's not that. Like I used to be guilty of. I guess my husband would say he was like, sometimes you just not satisfied. It's like, but I just got so much in me. I got so
Mm-hmm.
much in me. Why can't I just try? Let me try. Like I don't know what's gonna happen. Let me try. And to see your evolution and over the years, can you believe it? I've known you for almost 20 years.
I cannot believe it. I still feel 20 myself.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it does not feel like it's been that
Yep,
long.
I cannot believe it. I know.
God,
Right.
you
I
look
know.
good.
We look good. I love that. And
Yes.
to watch you just constantly step out on faith. You guys, y'all don't understand. Being an entrepreneur in every arena of a field that is dominated by a different culture and is not really supportive of women of color and or people of color, like even the type of classes that they do. I worked at a uh, I can say it. I mean, I worked at a sports clips, and the biggest concern that most of the stylists had at that time, and they were like, oh, they only could do Caucasian hair. And it's just being in that type of arena, like, oh, y'all are not taught to cut people of color hair, and it's like their hair is too thick or it's too curly, and it's like, but there's black barbers, there's black stylists. So I'm like, how are we still having stylists and things like that and barbers, and y'all are not even taught how to do that? I said it just shows how amazing we are as a people. But
Absolutely.
and for someone like you to say, you know what, I want to stop that. I want to be the change in this area. We're going to teach you what's on the board, but we're going to also do the things that we do for our community and for our culture and for people of color. Like, what made you open and start your own school?
So I knew at an early age, in the very beginning of being in cosmetology school, that there was something different. And I felt like cosmetology always had my heart, but I was kind of running from it because it wasn't, I'm just going to be honest, because, this girl talk. My dad was just like, this, it's just not a lucrative career.
Right.
And I think it was because of the women that he seen pursue it, never pursued it professionally. So we call them like kitchen titians. We all have like those aunts or great aunts that press hair in the kitchen, that did hair in a little shop, behind her house, and not necessarily pursue becoming a licensed professional. And so I ran from it. And then once I got serious about it at age 21, I was just like, this is something I know I need to do. I knew I wanted to open a business. School was not on the radar, but I knew I wanted to be a salon owner. And so once I pursued becoming an educator, because being a teacher was always one of my passions as well, I saw a Black school owner. And I don't even think at that time it left my lips. And that's why I teach my students, like, what you think is just as powerful as what you say.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember seeing her walk through the door, and I was just like, yes, ma'am. Like, this is going to be me one day. And so I was so empowered. And I remember calling my mom, and I was like, I'm going to open a school one day. And when I do, I'm going to retire you from Walmart. Because my mom worked at Walmart. And she never doubted anything that I wanted to do. She never doubted. She never said you couldn't do it. She never said it was too big, too small. She just said, okay. And when you do, I'm going to be ready.
Yep. Come on,
That's
Mama.
what she said.
She ain't gonna knock her blessing. Okay.
Absolutely not. She said, and when you do, I'll be ready. And, I remember being in cosmetology school being taught, like, the blacks did the black hair. The whites did the white hair. And even though I was like, hey, I want to be a multicultural stylist, because that was kind of on the horizon where everybody was doing everybody, they never gave me a Caucasian client the entire time I was in school. And really. And so I had to break that barrier as a licensed professional, which is harder to do because you have no experience on doing that type of hair.
Right.
And so I just ended up working with a young lady that later became my friend that was like, I want you to cut my hair like yours. And I'm like, girl, listen now.
It's different.
I ain't never cut no white hair before. She was like, listen.
Right.
One of two things you're going to do. You're going to either get it right or get it wrong. And if you get it wrong, we'll know what to do. And so I said, okay. And I cut her hair for years. And then she referred her brother. And then he was like, hey, you can't mess it up. I mean, if you mess it up, we'll just cut it all, we'll just cut it low. We'll just buzz it. Doesn't matter. And so I started cutting his hair, and then his wife, and then their daughter, and then the sister and the mom. And then before you knew it, I started to have a multicultural clientele. But I remember telling myself that when I open my school, our students will know how to cut anybody hair that's sitting in their chair.
Yeah.
You may have a strength based on whatever race you are, or you may have you may have a preference, but you're going to be equipped enough to get the job done and not turn any money away. And if you do decide to do it, it won't be because of skill. It'll be because of preference.
Yeah.
And so our students come, and if Miss Mary Lou getting a perm, then they're rolling a perm. If Miss Betty getting a roller set, then whoever's next in line is doing a roller set. And so I love that about our school, because we won't run into what you ran into, where they have to turn people away because they're intimidated about the texture of hair.
Oh my goodness. That's empowering alone. Like, no shades to the ladies that were there. They were a little bit older. We're older. So that makes sense that they were never had the opportunity to learn it, because probably the teacher herself, being old school, was also,
because you only teach what what you're familiar with, especially if you're in a box. But your strength is your strength, and your weakness is your weakness. And so a lot of times, especially in our industry, people don't like to broadcast what their weaknesses are.
Yeah.
And so I will, because I tell them, hey, baby, Ms. Brown know how to do that. But let me go and get let me go and get Miss Hill or Miss Stanley to come here. They'll show you how to do it.
Yeah.
But in that way, even though it's a weakness of mine, it's not going to carry on and bleed and be a weakness of theirs.
Right. That shows care.
It does.
It shows care, because what you're not trying to do is cripple the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
You're empowering them. And what you said was, you don't want them to have to turn down money, because if you are going to be a professional and whoever walks into your shop, you be like, oh, come on, I got you. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
And it should be that easy, because it really is just hair.
It's just hair. You just have to know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Now
you
have to learn it.
Let me ask you this, with you, I mean, because technically you're creating a brand new culture of hairstylists. And maybe at this moment you won't get to see the impact of it. Have you thought about like what 10 years up the road would look like for you? When I know, right? Like, you will be in the area, because this would be almost 5 years for you, right?
Three for the school. Mm-hmm.
3 years for
20 years for in the industry though.
20 years in the industry, 3 years for the school. And let's say you get to about year 10 or 15, and this area, which is multicultural because we are next to an air base, and they'll be like, oh no, I went to the beauty academy, they taught me how to do everything. Like, you'll be at that place where you'll hear people say that about you. How would that make you feel? Like, you're sitting around and somebody tell you that?
It's like, sometimes when you're in the middle and you're just doing the work and you've accepted the call, I don't think you pay attention to like what's around, like the noise. I'm just like, God, you call me to it, I'm doing it, and I'm just going to do it to the best of my ability with everything that's in me.
Yeah.
Right. I give them and I give it my all.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't even thought about like what it's gonna look like to hear people say, or to even see them in their element where they're not afraid and they're very courageous when it comes to texture of hair. Like, I know that we're training some great people.
Yeah.
And I even tell them, like, I can't wait to see what you're gonna become.
Yeah.
And to have that type of heart, I feel, is needed for the line of work that I do. And I feel that if you're teaching, period, you should have that heart to see the fruit.
Yeah.
But when you're doing the work, when you're doing the plowing and the planting and the sowing, I don't even think you think about the fruit.
Yeah.
And what it's going to produce, because right now I'm in that laboring season.
Yeah.
That nurturing, season. So it's taking care of all the seeds and making sure the weeds don't choke them out, and speaking life and feeding them nutrients of what really is Bible, right? Giving them, words of life, words of encouragement. And like I said, I don't even think, because it's so much work, I don't even think I sit back sometimes and say, look at the fruit. Like, it's just a weird, it's a weird thing. I think when this happens, maybe it'll hit me. When this happened, I remember when we were building and I was like, when they put the sign up, that's when it's going to hit me. That's when it's going to hit me. And they put the sign up and it was like, it's more work to do.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, sign up, off the list. Now they're painting. Like, when they paint the whole building, then that's when it's going to hit me. And it didn't hit me. And then when they put the furniture in, that's definitely when it's going to hit me. It didn't hit me. But when a beauty professional came and she brought her staff to see, this is before we opened, and she brought her staff in to see, like, I want you all to see what she's doing for our area. That's when it hit me. Because it was like, not one person took off their job or stepped out of their schedule. It's like 6 of them. And they like, girl, do you really know what you're doing?
No, you don't.
No, I don't. I'm just obeying.
Yep.
I'm just obeying. And even though I knew it was something I wanted to do, that was like, I spoke that like in 06. And here it is, 2021, 2022, it's happening. And so I do believe that as entrepreneurs, it's very easy to get weary and to lose sight of things that we set in motion.
Yeah.
We spoke over our life.
We did.
Right? And then we get weary because we're like, you know what? It hasn't happened yet. Like year 10, it hasn't happened yet. And so I'm big on journaling. So I buy journals. Every time we have a new class, I buy them a journal. And I'm like, write your story in this journal of beauty school. You'll never get this back.
Yeah.
These feelings, you'll never get them back. And so I never lost sight of the school. I don't care what happened. Like, okay, I did hair for a little bit, and then God said, okay, it's time for you to open your salon. Like, okay, I'm gonna open this salon, but I'm still gonna have my school too. So I never lost sight of it. And so obedient to opening that salon for 15 years is how long we had it. And trying and testing and learning, and how entrepreneurship is, the highs, the lows. And what it did, it prepared me to where we are now. And so none of that was a mistake.
Yeah,
none of it wasn't failure. And I told them, I'm like, it's no such thing as a mistake. It's lessons, discoveries. That's what I told them. Discoveries.
Yeah.
No such thing as a mistake. Discoveries. Now you know what not to do.
Ooh, girl, that's a word in itself.
Yes.
Right.
And when you shift your perspective, it doesn't have a negative impact on you. It's like when you're driving and you're like, this traffic. Oh my God, it's traffic. It's traffic. And then you get up there and somebody's flipped their car over.
Right.
And maybe a fatality. Right. Yeah. If you were 10 minutes earlier, that could have been you.
Yep.
And so some people still are like, traffic, instead of saying, God, I thank you for saving me, because I could have potentially been in an accident.
Yeah, that could have been me.
It could have been me. And so it shifts your perspective to gratefulness. And that's where we get our blessings, when we're grateful for the smallest things.
I love
the smallest things.
And just reminding people to be grateful. And I think I used to associate being grateful with like a parent to a child a lot of times. So it's kind of bittersweet. It's like, oh, you should be grateful because you got a roof over your head and you got this. It's like, yeah, I hear you, but it's like being to myself now that I'm an adult. It's like, no, I need to be grateful because this opportunity could have led me astray, or this moment could have put me in harm's way. This moment could have put me in danger, like just straight danger. Like when I think about some of the things that I've done and the Lord was like, no, go this way. And I'm like, God, this feels like it's a good moment. This feels like a good thing. And it's like, well, at the same time, do what I'm telling you to do. Like, there were times where I was at the club and we'd be sitting there and I'd be like, it's time to go. And they'd be like, it's time to go. I'm like, yeah, it's time to go. They're like, but it's just getting started. I said, well, I'm going to go.
There's a stirring.
I feel it in the atmosphere. Do you know how many times there was like a shootout I done missed because I done listened? It's something that simple. So it's like, Lord, thank you for still talking to me when I wasn't doing right. Like, I'm grateful for
never taking your hand. And learning to be grateful for negative things.
Oh, yes.
Things that should have took you out.
Yep.
Right? I think that's just a different level of spiritual maturity.
Oh, yeah.
Because most of the time when you think about being grateful, it's for positive things, items, materialistic things. But when you say, Lord, I'm grateful for the storm.
I am.
Because I needed a shaking in my life. I needed a pressing.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you for exposing something that was deeply rooted, and I didn't know it was there. I didn't know that underneath all of what I got going on, I'm thinking I'm just pushing towards mark. I'm doing ministry. I'm doing this. And it's like, oh man, my family might be falling apart. And I wasn't even
Didn't
paying
even know
attention.
it.
Yes. Like,
Or
I'm
you
like,
may be growing your ministry, but you got bitterness laying underneath there from a
ooh,
previous ministry.
come on. Yep.
You know, it's like, okay, so no, we need to deal with that heart, because if we don't, we're going to breed bitterness in your ministry if you don't deal with it.
Oh my goodness. Facts.
So, you know, there has to be a sanctification that has to take place.
Mm-hmm.
And entrepreneurship sometimes to me feels like the road to Damascus.
Just
It's like,
dreary.
where is everybody?
Yeah. Dreary.
Yeah.
Nobody around.
No water, no trees, no nothing,
shade,
like,
nothing.
no shade. It's just,
in the
just
sun.
in the sun.
Beating
In the heat.
Yep.
In the heat. No cooling. And so I think that's when you learn and your best self is discovered, is in that road. And I do believe a lot of people don't give themselves time to travel that road. And so they tend to say, well, entrepreneurship is not for me, or there's no money in that.
Yeah.
So I went back to work, and it's like, no, you gave up when you should have. You pulled out too early.
You aborted the mission.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that right there. So I was telling a friend the other day that it was hard doing, if y'all don't know, I'm doing DeliverHer conference. Let me tell y'all something. She is Miss Victoria, Dr. Victoria Brown is the one. I'm gonna put respect on your name and title, ma'am. She was the one who gave me the name for the conference. Like, I went to a women's retreat, I told y'all, and I came from it and was like, y'all, I'm nervous. Because the Lord gave me a big assignment and he told me to do a women's conference. I was like, the last one I did, the trauma from it. Everybody showed up who was supposed to show up. And the ones who were like, I got your back, sis. I got your, the disappointment behind that. I was like, I'm not doing this no more. You can keep it. I was like, you can keep it. You ain't got to worry about me. I said, when the sound man, I'm calling the sound man because he's supposed to have been here the day before and he ain't set up. And I'm calling the same morning. Ain't happen. Girl, it was rough. So here I am sitting there and I'm like, I'm supposed to do this conference. She gonna send me a text, y'all. Tell my son, I got the name for it. It's called DeliverHer Conference.
I did.
Look, that's it.
In the middle of a session.
Look,
I was just like, I can't. I
people
can't.
Still sharing, y'all. People still.
I did. I had, and what's so funny about that, Alicia, is that maybe a week before I had like felt that, in my spirit, and I was like, Lord, what is this? Like, I know it's not for me, I'm like, I'm gonna hold on to it. Like, Lord, listen, I'm with you when you're right. No, I'm just kidding. I'm with you when you're right, Lord.
Yeah.
But I was just like, okay, well, I saw it the same way I sent it to you. And what's so funny is that I saw the Beauty Academy, the beauty, like the name of the school came the exact same way. And so I knew it was something powerful, and I was just like, okay, well, I saw it. You'll let me know when it's time to release. Cool. And in that moment, you were talking about you had just shared.
I did.
About the conference and how you were nervous about it and you didn't have a name. And God was like, this is what I want you to do. This is why I showed it to you.
Yeah. And when you sent it, I was like, yes, ma'am. That's it. I haven't even tried to think of nothing else at all. And when I didn't see nothing out there for it.
And that's what's crazy. I had Googled it too before when he gave it to me, that's the first thing I do. I Googled it and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, who got it? Where is it?
Who got it? Where do I need to go somewhere? Do I know, right? Up? Like, what are you trying to tell me? Nothing. And I was just like, okay, well, I'll write it down. I'm like, okay, you'll let me know when to release it. And that was when you said, I don't have a name. He said, release it. That's the name of the conference.
That's the Lord. Let me tell y'all, that is the Lord. Because the one thing I have a hard time doing is naming things. I be like, Lord, just tell me. You tell me. And when you sent it, I started to cry because the focus of the conference is deliverance. And I was talking to Pastor yesterday about it actually, and he was just asking me about it. Again, he wanted to hear it from me directly, and I was sharing. I was like, he asked me where it stemmed from, and I told him, I was like, it stemmed from my breakdown last year. And I was in the midst of trying to be wife. I was trying to be mom. I was trying to be a friend to somebody, and I was not doing my best. I was putting on all this physical weight, emotional weight, mental weight, financial weight. I'm doing all these things, and I'm like, God, can't nobody see me? Don't you see my face? And I'm complaining. And like I told Pastor, I was complaining. I was like, you got me out here serving at your church, doing all this work, and I'm having to go home, and I don't know if my household gonna be okay. I don't know if my kids gonna be okay, and I'm struggling out here. And he said, okay, well, I hear you complaining, but never once did you cry out for me. Just that simple. And he's like, you was waiting for this person to show up for you, this person to show up for you, these folks to show up.
And I'm waiting.
He was waiting on me, sis. And I just was like, Lord, deliver me from me. All these things that I have been taught to do. Really, that's all it is. I've been taught. Someone taught me to carry the emotional burdens, all these different things on behalf of somebody else. And so when I am trying to minister, or when I am trying to be an entrepreneur, when that person's like, I don't know why you would do that, like your dad did, like ain't no money in that. And I'm like, oh no, well, you don't think I could do? Immediately felt shut down.
Immediately.
Yep.
And then you'll run.
Yep.
What'll happen is you'll run.
Yeah.
Obedience is going to cost you something.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it's friendships, relationships. It's going to cost you some money.
It do.
And sometimes it's not even necessarily you spending. It's just God may be pulling you away from something that took care of you. I mean, I had almost 20 years of clientele. God was like, I just knew I was going to be, doing hair on Fridays. When I first opened the school, I was doing hair on Fridays. And so I'm teaching Monday through Thursday, and then Friday was my day to, and I did that for 2 months. The Lord spoke to me 3 times.
Ooh.
First, it was a meeting with a distributor, our skin distributor, and he's like, you're going to have, if you want that school to grow, you're going to have to come out from behind that chair. We're on a Zoom call.
Don't call me out like that.
Yes, he did. Oh. Yes, he did. And I knew, Alicia, when he said it, I felt the weight of it. And I remember I got off the call and my client said, you okay? And I said, yeah. In our industry, you don't bring problems to work.
Being professional.
Right? So. And I had, I was very good with, having my poker face, my mask on, and I guess it was seeping through that I was overwhelmed. And she said, you look overwhelmed today. That's the first time in 17 years at the time anybody had ever told me that. I just broke down. She said, go outside and get you some air. I didn't even get to the Hanes store. The Lord said, it is time. I cried. I turned around. I wiped my face. I came back in. She said, that was quick. I said, I got what I needed. And throughout the day, I'm still trying to talk myself out of it. You can go, you can push it. You can do at least 2 years. You can do at least 2 years, Right. And my sister called me that Saturday morning. She said, sis, I'm worried about you. She said, you're so stretched. You're not getting rest. Like, You don't look like you're eating good. You don't look like you're sleeping good. I'm worried. And I'm crying behind the phone call, right? Mm-hmm. And I still haven't said anything to my husband yet because, oh, Lord, because, when
they want to shut it down. They want to shut everything.
Baby, they'll shut everything down. And I hadn't said anything to him yet. And I remember I didn't go to church that Sunday. And the Holy Spirit said, turn on Sarah Jakes. Mm-hmm. Notice, did not say Sarah Jakes Roberts, meaning it was an old sermon, right? I went to YouTube and I'm like, no, I went to her Facebook and she was live. He's like, no, that's not it. That's not what I want you to hear. So I'm like, okay.
He was leading
baby,
you.
When I say it was crystal clear. And so I'm like, okay, I go to YouTube and I'm like, okay, I put in Sarah Jakes. The very first video popped up. It said, get out of your routine. I'll never forget it. And I'm like, okay. I clicked on it. The first 6 minutes wrecked me. And I said, okay. I said, okay, Lord. Now I know you done gave me 3.
Right.
The final straw was going to be what I tell my husband.
Yep.
And so I was like, judging by his reaction is when I'm going to really know it's from you.
Yeah.
And I said, babe, I think it's time. I'm going to have to come out from behind the chair. And he said, you think you can handle it? And I said, I don't have a choice. He said, okay. My husband is a very talkative man. He has a lot of questions. That was all he said. And I was just like waiting for the punchline. Right? So I could just cry. Mm-hmm. And he didn't say anything. And that was it. It took me 6 hours to type 306 characters.
The fact that you know exactly.
I know exactly. And I remember it was in October. And I was like, Lord, I don't know what to say. I don't even know how long. He said 2 weeks.
Okay.
I said, Lord, that's not enough time. I'm going to give him to the end of the month. 2 weeks. October 22nd was my last Friday. I remember. And so still, I was just so hard-headed.
I was going to say something because I was like, you see how you keep pushing? Like, I hear you say 2 weeks, but I'm going to give him.
But I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this instead. And I remember he said 2 weeks. And I said, okay. And I told all of my clients, I finally sent the message out. But I text 2 of my aunts and I said, but I'm going to still do y'all. Right? And I remember that was on that Sunday. That Monday I went to work. We didn't have school because it was Columbus Day, which is like on the 10th. And I'm up there doing hair. And the Holy Spirit said, you're still being disobedient. And I said, I already knew what it was. And I text my aunts and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able. I'm not, it wouldn't be fair. I'm not going to be able to do it. And I remember my aunt, my favorite aunt. Oh, yeah, we don't judge me. Everybody got that favorite auntie.
Absolutely.
Okay? And so my favorite aunt, she called me. I had just sent the text out. She called me. And I'm thinking she like checking on me or wanting a referral. And I said, hey, auntie. And she said, oh, I called you. I meant to call my sister. And both of our names start with the letter V. Right? And so I was like a little taken back. And she said, I thank you for everything that you did for me. I thank you for all the years for doing my hair. And I said, okay. And I said, well, I still got you down, next Friday. And she said, that's okay. I found somebody to do it. Now, for all my hairdressers out here, baby, you want to tick off your hairdresser? Tell her you got somebody else to do your hair. It is like the biggest slap in the face.
Yeah.
And so it is the ultimate insult, right? And I remember I said, okay. And I remember getting off the phone and I just bust out crying. Right? I just bust out crying because it hurt my feelings so bad. And I'm like, you didn't want to call me. You were calling to talk about me and what I just sent. There's no way you found a hairdresser that quick.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way.
Right.
And so I remember in that moment, hearing God say, if you make a decision that is best for, you feel like it's best for you, and you don't tick off anybody, it is not the best decision for you.
That's a word.
And it's the best decision for them.
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Right.
And so what had happened was I had finally made the best decision for me. And everybody was mad.
Ooh, girl.
And it's like, that's when you know it's the best decision for you. It's the best decision for your family. Because at the end of the day, that's who it affects the most.
Yep.
Right? Every Friday, I was getting later and later with picking my son up for daycare, which is something I always enjoy doing that I wasn't able to do anymore. Now that became a burden on my mom because I'm trying to please other people.
Yeah.
You know, and so entrepreneurship is not about money, and that's what people don't understand.
Right.
It's about freedom.
Yeah.
It's about freedom. And that may mean that freedom, depending on what season you're in, that freedom may mean you being able to make as much money as you want, right? Or that freedom may be, I want to cut the crust off my kids' sandwiches every morning.
Yeah.
And I want to pick them up from school.
Right.
And so I want my business to be built around my family, right? In that season, your kids are smaller. My son is smaller. In this season, it's being available.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what freedom is in this moment.
Yeah.
It may change tomorrow.
It will
but today,
change. Yeah, but
it's
today.
me cutting around off his watermelon. If that's what he wants, that's what we doing.
Yeah.
It's me showing up the PTO and mommy activity day. That's what's important to me in this season. When he gets older, that part may not matter. He may be able to cut the crust off his own sandwich.
Yeah.
And so I may need more resources to be able to provide. But I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because freedom is freedom, honey. Freedom is this.
I need to hear that.
Freedom is freedom. And you cannot put a dollar amount.
I'm telling you,
on freedom.
I was thinking about going back to work. I really, really was. I don't want to. I believe in what I'm doing right now so much that I feel like if I could keep the momentum going that I have and push the certain doors that are available to me, that this will be what I'm doing. And it will eventually be the income that I need. That is how strongly I believe in this. And it's not that I want to make billions of dollars. Like, if the Lord willing, amen. But that's not the goal. You know, I ain't gonna
absolutely.
Turn away, but I just want to be able to be available for my kids. Like, I am a product of a preacher's kid where their parents never came to anything, never were at anything. They were always at church. And when they did show up, they didn't even know I was doing it until it was the day I had to do it. Like, for like a whole school year, they didn't know I was in plays. And
wow.
like I was going to practice. I would stay after school and I would go to practice. I would walk almost 5 miles from the school to my house. And I was in middle school doing this. And we were overseas in Germany. And I would walk home every day. And then they get home maybe like 10, 15 minutes later. And then it was like time for bed. And nobody, and like, it'd be dark. It would be, when I think about how I was doing stuff, it a little reckless, but at the same time, you know, I didn't have a ride. So I had to walk, you know.
And we'll put this disclaimer at it. This is way before Uber and,
way before.
you know.
Yes.
Maybe taxis, I don't know, but.
I ain't had no money.
Right. Where you going to get that from?
Yeah. And,
you know,
girl, I used to have a job at the local commissary, being a bagger, and I was making maybe $1,000 a week.
Wow.
Back then, I was 12, 13 years old.
Girl, that was like $3,000 a day, probably four.
Honey, they didn't know I had that much money. Like when we came back to the States, I had maybe saved up almost $25,000. When I said I was a hustler, I was a hustler. I just didn't know what this was. And it was like, I think when they found out that I had, they were like, you just be buying stuff.
Mm-hmm. And do.
And I was like, man, that's crazy that my parents missed all of it. I'm living underneath the same roof as them. I'm doing, and to hear you say like, freedom could just be cutting the crust off my kids' sandwiches. Like that is what I'm striving for. I want to be able to pick my kid up. I don't want to be working so late at night that I don't see them do the things that they're doing and participate. I do want to be on the PTO. And with entrepreneurship, like, I know that there's years where you're grinding and you are making sacrifices, but what are some of those telltale signs where you're like, okay, I need to slow down? Like, I heard you when you said God was like, look now, don't keep doing these people hair. I told you.
I'm telling, because burnout is real.
It is.
It's real. And we all know stylists that have probably gotten to a point where they were just burnt out and they start taking people's hair out. That's like the telltale sign, as far as that is concerned. However, I can always tell when it's time for me to slow down. Actually, my son will tell me. He's like, we need mommy and son time. Or, mommy, no, I need you to put your phone down. Let's talk, or let's have a picnic, or let's go on a date. And so those things are very important. I've learned the term of becoming overstimulated.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of times our parents were overstimulated.
Right.
And they didn't know that was what it was, but it is, And so it's like you come home from work and you're fussing and da, 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 da. And so I try to make sure I catch myself, with becoming overstimulated, because it does affect the house. Yeah. As the wife, we set the tone in the house. If food cooking, people hungry.
Yeah.
And so I never wanted to be a hostile environment for my family.
Yeah.
I now love listening to non-lyrical music.
Girl.
So
it's such a joy.
It's such soothing. A vibe.
Yes, it's soothing.
Very soothing. To where even sometimes I'll listen to rain sounds just to get, to me it makes me productive. The other people, it put them to sleep. But if I got paperwork to do, non-lyrical, it still can't even be too like upbeat. Yeah.
They call it lo-fi music.
Yeah, lo-fi, girl. I put on like spa lo-fi or chill lo-fi. And even Nolan will recognize, like, mommy, let's put on some of that music that don't have lyrics. No, he said that don't have words. That's what he said.
He's so
and I already
smart.
know what
I
that
love
is.
How
he's very smart.
Yeah.
And my husband will be like, you know what? We're going camping. You need a break. Yeah. And so I think it took him, now as the school is growing, I still wear a lot of hats. But he'll come up there, spend the day, and he's like, they really pull on you like that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you need a break.
Yeah.
We're going on a staycation or we're going camping, and it's necessary. But to me, it's a whole vibe when you have people in your house that can tell that you're overstimulated, even when you don't realize you're overstimulated.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's what I've been trying to work on even for myself. Like, I was just diagnosed recently with ADHD, and it's like finding that out. It was like, the light bulb going off. That's what it was. I'm thinking I'm going crazy. No, yes. I'm overstimulated. It's too much going on, and I cannot focus. And outside of me trying to focus, my attitude is not right. Like, I'm fussing at everybody. When you said when wife come home and fussing, it made me think we used to call my mom the Tasmanian devil because she come in from work and be running all in the house fussing at everybody, and we'd be like,
Girl,
we would run to our rooms trying to just stay.
trying to hide. I mean, it's whose shoes in the floor? Who
Yep.
left their socks? Why is this room a mess?
Yep.
Why isn't dinner prepared?
Yep.
Like, why
Wait.
aren't these dishes washed?
Be
Like, I remember my mom woke me up out of the bed one night, like 11, 12 o'clock.
these
and was
kids don't
like,
know that kind of lifestyle. They
you
don't
better
know.
get in here and wash these dishes, period. I don't care nothing about you being sleepy and got school tomorrow.
Honey, my dad would wait till we fall asleep, because he'd be like, I want to see if you gonna do it. I was gonna let you have all the time you need to see if you was gonna do it. He'll set himself an alarm at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. He'd get up because he was military, so he's getting ready for the day anyway. Yep. He would come in there, throw that blanket back, go and wash them dishes. I'll wait and come get me when you're done. And be like, what?
That's my mom. Like, you better get up because you should have been did it.
You should have been did it. These kids don't know life. They don't know it. They're so blessed. Y'all don't know what it's like to get up in the AM to just do some chores.
Housework.
Yep.
Yes.
Just a chore.
Don't think you're about to go outside, because you're not.
No.
We used to beg to go outside. And these kids, you have to beg them to go outside. It's like, y'all want to do housework?
No. Do that.
Because what you're not about to do is come in here and mess up the house that we just spent all morning cleaning up. So go outside.
Yes, ma'am.
And we would gladly go outside.
Yep, to be out there all day.
Yes. You fussing. Yeah.
Let me no shade to any of the younger generation.
No shade to y'all. And no shade to the older,
they did what
y'all did the best you could.
Yep.
With what you had.
Yep. We needed a break though. Y'all was riding us.
Real hard.
Real hard. Y'all made us have a job at the house. Like, that's we were full employees.
We really were. I mean, I literally got paid $10 a week.
Yeah, I did too.
Yes, $10 a week. Yep. And then I'm like, I had a car, and my dad was like $10 a week. So I'm supposed to just put all my allowance in gas.
Yep.
Don't let it get down too far so you can have extra money. Bruh, this is a lot.
That's it? That's all?
But it taught budgeting.
It did.
And prioritizing, like, needs from wants. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And I think it also just cultivates the producer in you. Like, I don't think people understand how important it is that you get to a place where in your life you are being productive. Like, you can try this. But I feel like you should still be trying to move towards something. Like, something that you said was like, even when you went from just doing hair to getting certified, you was like, okay, the school is still here. Like, there's still something motivating you to keep going. And even with the life lessons that you had in those moments, it still produced fruit for what was to come.
Absolutely. Like, every step, like becoming a licensed master cosmetologist, that's the first step, right? Becoming a salon owner prepared me for what the journey of entrepreneurship was going to look like. I mean, we expanded 4 times. Well, 3 times. The last time, God asked me to downsize. And I was just like, why? We supposed to be going up, not back. And I remember the Holy Spirit always asked me the same question, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what am I doing? And I had this huge salon space. It's like over 2,000 square feet. And I was the only one in there working. That didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. And so I remember going back to my old salon I used to own. And I said, I'm not going back to Egypt. I drove off. I never forget that. I drove off. And that was on a Thursday night. And I remember that Saturday I was working. I was in school for to get my instructor license to teach. And my husband, we were on the phone, and he was like, I mean, Victoria, really, what are we doing?
Yeah.
When he said that, I knew it was God. And I went to the back and I bust out crying. And I said, you will not believe, because I didn't tell him about, the encounter. And so he said, Victoria, we got to look for a smaller space. And so what happened was the lady next to me was looking for a bigger space. And she didn't know that I wanted to downsize. And we switched.
Wow.
It was like, and I remember we were on the phone and she was crying and I was crying. Wow. And she was just like, I don't want you to think I'm trying to put you out. I said, no, baby, no. God told me a month ago that this was in the making. And I said, I was just trusting the move, not knowing how he was going to do it. I mean, what better way that I want to downsize and you wanted to, get a bigger space. And that's what we did. But God allowed me to be in that smaller space for refinement. I didn't know that I was going to get, I didn't know we were going to get pregnant with Nolan and I was going to need time off with no pay. I didn't know COVID was coming. Right. I didn't know the school, was right around the corner from there. And God was just like, look, this is what I want you to do. I want you to stack your acorns because you're about to have a baby. Yeah. And then after your baby's going to be 3 months old, and then you're going to be shut down again from COVID. And it's going to be other months with no pay. And then, and then once that comes, then I'm going to drop that in that June, I'm going to drop the name of your school. Wow. And then a year from that day, you're going to find your location. Actually, Mike found the location. And when we got there, I was like, this is not it. Every building I've been in, I can walk in and see dryers over here, shampoo bowls over here. I can see the layout. Yeah. I walked into where we were, where we are now. I said, this is not it. And Mike was like, I'm telling you, this is the school. Right. Our school's going to be here. You don't worry about it. Yeah. We're going to come back. And I want you to walk through it again. And I said, okay, we don't have the key. He said, don't worry about it. I went to Ace and I got us a copy. We don't even have the lease. He done made a copy of these people's key. So we can go in there, and so I remember going in there and I'm like, well, you know what? This could work. This could work, And even then there were so many obstacles with the leasing company and what they wanted to do and what they said they were going to do, to where anybody would have turned around, but I knew it was God. And I was like, God, I've been in a situation before. I trusted you enough with this to where when there's opposition, you're in the midst. You're in the midst. Yeah. And so there's something that wants to keep us from making this happen. Even when I needed an architect to do the blueprint so that we could get our license through the state, and I couldn't find anybody. Girl, I got on there and did it myself. Yeah. The people at the state mocked my blueprint. They mocked it. Wow. On Zoom. I'm talking about a board, like people sitting at a table. They looked at my application. They asked me questions. And the guy was like, is there any room to move around? And laughed. They laughed.
Oh, so we big rude. Okay.
Yeah, we big rude. And, I was just like, matter of fact, it is. The building is over 4,000 square feet. And so, he's in the midst. Like, sometimes if it's too easy, you ought to be like, God, you really in it?
I know, right? You got to.
Because I'm used to battle, but I do believe that it doesn't have to always be that way. Yeah. But we don't need to get caught up in the way, God is going to move the same way every time.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
Because he's omnipotent. Like, he can move how he want to move.
Yeah. We just got to stay with him.
Yes. And we have to trust. And we have to stay at his feet.
I love that.
He'll show you. He will show you. He will give you step by step.
Yeah. Girl, I love.
But you got to take the first one first.
You do. You're yes.
And so yes is the easy part.
Yeah.
It's the hardest. It's the biggest step.
Yeah.
But it's the easiest step.
Yep.
It's that fall through.
Yeah.
And you get to step 3 and 4 and 15. You know, like we're up for accreditation. And so I'm like, okay, I know how you move.
Yeah.
Enemy, I know how you move. And I told my mom, I'm like, we're at the tip of a breakthrough.
Yeah.
I can feel it. It's so much stuff coming at one time to where his intentions is to make you weary.
Yeah.
And burn you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and to get you distracted off of what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And the bigger the distractions, the obstacles, I tell my students, if it's like this over here,
right
on this side, can you imagine what's on the other side?
Yeah.
So whatever the enemy is attacking in this season, it's a double portion on the other side.
Yeah.
It's 100-fold of that on the other side. So if he's attacking your finances to do this conference, baby, there's a double portion on the other side.
Yeah.
It's 100-fold on the other side. If it's your peace, then that means you're going to bring peace on the other side to whoever comes to this conference.
Thank you.
And so when you look at it with that type of weight, it's like, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
Because I know there's something on the other side.
Yeah.
And when we first started, we had 10 women. We had 10 students. Today, we have 32 women.
Wow.
32. And I'm like, I would have never thought, like, when we first started, that we would be here. And then I'm sure 10 years from now, I'll be like, I remember being on this podcast.
Yeah.
Being excited about the 32. We don't have 200. Today we have 200 students at our institution.
Yeah.
Whatever God wants to do, He's going to do it anyway. Ain't no need of fighting.
Yeah.
You know, being obedient to Him and saying yes to Him is like being in a rip current. You fight, you're going to die. You're going to drown. Okay?
That's true.
But if you just go with the flow, it may be rough, it may be scary, but you'll survive.
It's true. That's good. That's a good
one.
I love that. I mean, outside of you just encouraging me, no, you know, encourage somebody else out there, because it's
sure
what we're doing. I was telling somebody else the other day that, you know, some of us we're the first in our generation, the first in our family, first in our community to do some things. And that's why it's easy for them to say that, no, that's not gonna work. They ain't never seen it before. I
can't expect for you to, you know, you think about it when you really look underneath.
Yeah.
You weren't graced to do it. So why should I even be asking you if this can be done, and you're not graced to do it?
Yeah.
Right? Which is why mentors are so important. People that have done it, they can tell you can do this, because I've done it. Right? But you just go and ask a Jane off the street, that you don't have the capacity that I have.
I told somebody else that, I said, why are you asking somebody that didn't give it to you? God gave it to you. Why are you asking them?
Why are you asking somebody that got faith the size of a mustard seed when God specifically called you to walk on water?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Do you know how much faith Peter had to have to walk on water? It wasn't no mustard seed, Bookie. It was not. Baby, I can't swim. Listen, I cannot swim. I cannot even imagine. And then we talking about in the midst of a storm.
That's the part.
Baby, the waters were rough. They weren't calm. Are you
Rain is hitting his face. It's rocking. Like,
baby, you want me to get out of this boat and do what?
yes.
He said, okay. He said, if that's you, Lord, call me to come to you.
He said that, and he wasn't even sure that was even the Lord.
He said,
if.
Meaning, I'm not even sure if I want to get out of this boat. And I don't blame Peter. But he had to have a lot more faith than a mustard seed.
And did.
And a grapefruit. He walked on water.
He did.
And so the season that I'm in, I can't be around mustard seed, faith-filled people. Ooh, they got to be willing to walk on water.
Yeah.
And they got to believe that they can.
That gave me chills.
That's where I'm at.
In my conversations with other people. That's what you're doing. You're confirming.
You have
to. Yes, honey.
Girl, you have to surround yourself around the same like-minded, spiritually level-minded people as yourself and where God is calling you to.
Yeah.
Because this big walking over here.
Yeah.
You can't even have a seat at this table. You got to go to the kiddie table. And that's okay. They got milk and cookies over there. But over here, baby, you need molars. You need molars. You need molars to deal with this type of feast.
Yeah, we got steak over here.
We got steak and crab legs, honey.
Yeah, you gotta know how to eat this.
You gotta know how to crack this, honey.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I love it. Oh my goodness. I wish y'all, if you don't know, Dr. Victoria Brown will be at the conference. Yes. If you love this episode, please go ahead. Join us September 19th and the 20th. And the cost for it is just $25. And I promise you, if you had a good time like I did on this episode, first of all, this is my sister and I love her. Okay. I love her.
I love you more.
Like,
I've been knowing you all my life.
She can do no wrong, y'all. She keep it 100.
It feels like all my life. I've been knowing you before I got married. I do know that.
Yeah,
this is our 13th year. Matter of fact, the conference is our anniversary weekend.
Really?
Yes, we're going to celebrate after because we got a lot going on in September.
Okay.
And we're celebrating after.
Okay.
Yes, because we're going to be celebrating a lot of great things in the month of September.
And
so I'd rather close it out with our anniversary.
Come on. I love it. I want to say thank you for your transparency, your willingness to just share, your ability to just, there's not too many people out there who just says it in a way where it just clicks. Like, it's clicking on all realms for me, spiritually, emotionally, financially, like just all the leads, as I like to say. I'm so thankful that
you're welcome.
You are doing this with me. You were on this episode, and that you're going to be at the conference. You guys, like all the women that are participating in this conference, when I say spirit led, like the way that the Lord has been giving me people's names, it was like, go ahead and send a text out to Victoria. And I was like, I didn't even think you would say yes. Y'all don't understand. I was prepared for so many no's.
Really?
I sure was. I did not get not one no.
Look at God.
Not one. I was prepared because I was like, okay, God, so you told me to ask these people. I'm going to ask them, but I'm going to put some in the back pocket. He said, don't worry about them. That's exactly what he said. He said, don't worry about them. I was like, well, just in case somebody says that they can't do it or whatever, he's like, don't worry about them. So I was like, okay, Jesus. And I sent the text message.
Run it.
Y'all were like, yeah, just send me the details. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I need this. Fill out this form. Y'all was like, and they was dropping in so quick. And I was like, oh, we're okay.
We're done. We're done. That's my type of carrying on. I don't want to tarry. I told you I'm flowing. And when it comes to this encouraging and motivating and empowering women, I am there every time. Even you, I'm there every time.
I love you so
because
much.
this story is for everyone.
Yeah.
I love you. I love you so much.
So
I love what you're doing. I've always loved what you're doing. So I can't wait to see how this unfolds for you.
you ain't gonna make me cry. Y'all
Okay, let's not cry.
get it. Snap it back a little bit. I want to before we close out, I want to ask you one more question. What is
Yes.
maybe that last nugget, word of wisdom or encouragement you would give to somebody who is either on their journey of finding their purpose and discovering like what their calling is, and or even if it's just entrepreneurship or whatever it is, what would you say to them in this season?
I do believe that all of it lines up, right? And your purpose, your gifts, your talents, entrepreneurship is the fruit of the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a firm believer that your gifts will always make room for you, and your gifts and your talents is your purpose. It will always lead you to serving people to some capacity, right? Now, just because it comes easy and just because it's a gift, because we don't earn gifts,
Right.
right? And so, therefore, you don't have to work for them. They come easy to you. And sometimes I believe in entrepreneurship, we struggle with monetizing.
Yeah.
Because we're like, we didn't pay for it. So we feel that others won't, or we don't know how to price point our gifts and talents because we didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll leave the word of the session. So I remember going to a conference, a school conference, and I met the owner of Empire. And if you ever heard of Empire Schools, there's like 75, 80 schools nationwide.
Oh, wow.
And so this guy looked like a regular Joe. And I end up sitting beside him at a conference. And so I was sitting and I was just like, I didn't really know who he was. He just wasn't interested in the conference. I'm going to be honest, they're boring. They're boring. And so not knowing that he's been to these, like, I don't know how long. He's, every year we have to go to him. And so he would get up. He was very antsy. He was very like ADD-ish to me. And so I'll be like, we're on page 35. And so he was like, you're a teacher, right? I'm like, yes, I am. And he's like, so where you from? And, we just got to talk. And he's like, let me see how far you are from, oh, no, you're not one of my competitors. And I'm like, where do you live? And he's like, oh, I live in Savannah. And I was like, oh, what's the name of your schools? He's like, you ever heard of Empire School of Beauty? I was like, yeah. And so he was like, yeah. He said, that's what I do. And so some people were very timid by him. And I was like, Lord, if you just allow me to see him one more time, I just want to ask him a question like how do you do it? Like I'm just running through like questions in my mind. Like, what am I going to ask? And when I finally did see him, I said, I have a question to ask you. I've been looking for you all morning. He said, what is it? I said, if you could give a school owner like me sound advice, what would it be? He said, no one has ever asked me that before. And he said, if I had to give you one thing, it would be keep going.
Yeah.
I was expecting something deep,
Profound.
prophetic.
Yeah,
I was like, come on, give it to me. He's like, keep going. And I'm like, this man is a billionaire.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we complicate things.
Yeah. With
our purpose, with our gifts, with entrepreneurship. It's simple. You just have to keep going. So that's it. Keep going.
Y'all see, and she doesn't even know that's how I end the episode. I ended with keep going. Look. Come on.
That's it.
I love it. I want to say thank you once again for doing this.
You're welcome.
I love you so much.
And I love you more.
To all my Wild Preachers kids that are listening, my fans, I just want to say thank y'all. Thank y'all for my international listeners. I know I see y'all in Switzerland and Berlin and And
Whoop
journal.
whoop.
I see y'all. I promise you, I'm looking at all these numbers. I appreciate you waking up just to listen to my podcast when y'all come out. But as we like to say here, keep being wild for God and keep going. I love y'all and see y'all next week.